Hello everybody, welcome back to 7 Days. We are in the LizLabz. Today we're going to be covering injuries and the medicines you need in order to make those injuries go away, what happens when you get injured, and how to make your medical skill even better, and some of the other things that you might need to go along with that. First off, let's go ahead and cover where does one find our health bar. I covered that during the first episode when I was going over the UI, but just in case, the bottom left-hand side, you can see the red health bar down there. It's actually got a little cross on it. That is your health. Also, when you're dealing with status effects, not only do you need to know where your health bar is, you also need to be able to check your character right here for your status effects. So we just hit tab, we go up to our character, and it's underneath these status effects. Not only can you see what is affecting you, you can see how to fix what it is, what is affected by the injury, and typically how it will affect your health and or stamina. And this is a good place to find all those, because sometimes the stacking of these things could make it to where you have very little health or very little stamina. So keep a very close eye on these status effects in this menu. Let's just go ahead and cover a couple of the basics. First off, there are skill points attached to your healing and what you get for healing and the healing items themselves. Let's go ahead and cover that one more time because I did go over these, but just in case you missed the episode and you're more concerned about this one, we have got healing factor, which allows you to gain more health whenever your character is full, and you will eat through more of your food at a particular time. You also have pain tolerance, which allows you to reduce the amount of HP loss whenever you get injured. And then over here we have our physician perk, which allows us to get more XP and gain more health, and the effectiveness of our healing items is better. Also, this very first one is a very, very important one. Splints and casts cure sprains instantly. If you don't know what the difference between a sprain and a break is, we're going to go ahead and cover that in just a minute. But that's where you find those particular perks, and you would just perk into those as far as you want to give your character a more balanced healing slash food situation. I will get into the strats of where to put your points in there later on. I think I've touched on them in several videos already, so I'm not going to cover them too much right now. Also, there is a small thing having to do with the medical. Whenever you go into your challenges, there is a whole healer section, and you can do these, crafting the splints, the first aid bandages, the heal the bleeding, the heal the infection, all of these things right here. And I'm not sure exactly what you get as an end result of doing all of these, but I would definitely say check this out whenever you start using your medical kits on whether or not you have completed one of these. And there's also one more where it's the harvesting of honey, which honey is in fact a medical item as well. So yeah, also check your challenges. Now, where do we find healing items in the game? Well, we can find them inside these little medical supplies, inside these medical supplies, inside of our medicine cabinets, inside of our medical cabinets, and we can find them inside the pop and pills crates. Plus, there's quite a few others where shelves and stuff like that exist. There are pop and pill stores that you can go into. You can find medical supplies all over the place, stashed behind boxes and everything else like that. So, let's go ahead and get into our injuries. Obviously, we have the just in case we happen to get damaged by a zombie injury. Just smack her in the back of the head. There we go. Now, that's just a regular, everyday, run-of-the-mill injury. It took out a few hit points, and we're okay. We didn't sustain any long-term injuries from that particular hit. Now, because my character has actually been damaged, my character is more susceptible to what is referred to as a critical strike. And that would basically be whenever the zombie hits you, it not only does damage, but it could cause bleeding, breaks, abrasions, that whole 9 yards. And the more damage you take, the more likelihood of those types of breaks actually happening. She's sneaking towards me. If you get into a situation where you have several different zombies hitting you, each one of those hits counts towards that possible critical break. There's a percentage chance that the hit that you are getting is a critical strike of some sort, in which case you're going to get one of these compounding effects. So, let's go ahead and cover some of those compounding effects. Okay, now, just on the basic, what would we call these? Like the critical damages that you can possibly have. There are, well, your character could be bleeding, in which case you're going to have to do something about that, which is usually done with a bandage, but we'll get into that in just a second. But there's the bleeding, there is the lacerations, there's the abrasions, concussions. These are all considered critical damage that your character can get, the more damage that they take. So let's just go over a couple of these things from the medical side and see what they actually do. We have a bandage and it will stop bleeding. Your character will actually show that it's bleeding because there'll be little blood splotches on your screen, and there will be I'm pretty sure it's a red droplet over there on the left-hand side. We're just going to move on from that one. It's actually pretty easy to see, but your character can die from bleeding. If you're low on health and your character starts bleeding and you don't patch it, your character will die really, really fast. Then we have got our aloe cream, which is a pretty low level one. It's 5 health. Abrasion healing speed is 200%, but it does not stop bleeding. Now, if we combine the both of these into an aloe cream and a bandage, we can do the first aid bandage, which does health is 30, abrasion healing speed is 30%, and the stop bleeding is 100%. We can check the abrasion. So let's do that. On the bottom left-hand side, you can actually see a yellow mark that's actually got an abrasion thing. Let's take a look at our buff here. Bumps and bruises, the most common type of injury and heal over time. Perks or medical items like aloe cream, first aid bandages, or first aid kits increase the healing speed. Your max health is lowered by 8.3. Healing speed is 100%. In order to check all these, I hit tab. I went into my character, and right here on the status effect is where it actually tells me. You can be in any of these menus, but the status effects are listed over here. And you can see what will actually heal it. So it doesn't matter what is covered in this video. If you forget, it's pretty easy to find out what it is you need in order to fix the problem by checking the screen. It'll tell you how long it's going to last and everything else like that. Now, you're probably looking at this and thinking, I have an abrasion, I'm missing 8.2 health, and it's going to last for 39 minutes. That's a long time. Meds I have inside my box. Those are for instructional purposes. What we're going to do is use this first aid bandage, and it is going to heal us. I put it in my hand, and right click, and as you can see, it dropped down to 12 minutes. And I also have a healing spot right here where it says health recovery, and it's plus 0.5 seconds for food, plus 0.2 seconds for medical items. It can actually tell you here on what it is that you have going on, because some food does increase your health, and I'll get into that in just a second. But as you can see, using the item actually cut off a whole lot of time. So don't get discouraged whenever you see yourself get injured and it's like there's 30 minutes left of this stuff. All right, next up, of course, we had our first aid bandage. Then we have our first aid kit. And in case you didn't see these, guys, I actually have what it takes to craft them right here. Just the bandage takes 10 cloth. The aloe cream just takes 4 aloe leaves. The first aid bandage takes 1 aloe cream and 4 cloth. One bandage, which is 10 cloth, my bad. And then the first aid kit, which of course is our top of the line first aid item. And it's going to take a blood bag, a beer, and 5 bandages. But it does health of 180, abrasion healing of 400%, stop bleeding of 100%, and it sutures a laceration for 100%, which basically means it gets rid of that. It is basically the top of the line best medical item that you can possibly get, but it's not the only one that you need. But these are definitely ones that you hold on to for like a horde night, for your tier 5 POIs, that kind of thing. So make sure you hold on to these and claim these whenever there is a reward if you're having a hard time finding them. The next thing we have is our painkiller, and it's a health of 40, a stun resist of 100%, a cure concussion of 100%, a minus 40 on your water, and a 3-minute duration. Now, there's something else that it doesn't necessarily put right there that I'm going to go ahead and show you. Pills show up right here. This is where our countdown is for some of the medicines. Any time you take a medicine that's got a time delay on it, the countdown will show off here. But if we do that, there's also another problem. There's a time delay on this one, so you can't just keep popping these, which is kind of good because as you saw, it's a minus 40 on your drink. And if you don't have anything to drink on you, you can dehydrate your character really, really fast. And dehydrations and starving your character can cause you to lose health too. So, but for this particular one, stun resist, you can take this before you get into a big battle, and it'll keep you from getting stunned during the fight. You can cure a concussion, and I can show you guys what that one looks like. Is this one it? No. I have suffered a concussion. Actually, I have not, because I just took this and it stopped me from getting a concussion. Okay, now we're going to try this one. There we go. There's the concussion. As you can see, it lasts for 2 hours. 2 hours! That's a pretty long one, so if we take our medicine, completely gets rid of it. Plus, it stops me from getting another concussion while it's active. So it's a pretty decent medicine to have on your hotbar because it is an instant effect medicine. It doesn't cure over time. It instantly hits you for that 40. So there's a chance that you might need to throw that down your gullet whenever you're running away from zombies and your character's bleeding. It's like, I don't have enough time to bandage because it's going to take too long. For one reason or another, like my health is at 3. I need 40 health and then bandage on top of that, and that might actually save you. But the big thing is make sure you watch out for the 40... I have a kitty staring at me from right in front of my screen. I'm not sure exactly what she's doing. That's what I'm looking at the whole time I'm trying to do this video, and I'm trying really hard not to laugh. She's really good at... There she goes. She's been found out and I told on her. Oh god, what was I saying? She's like, okay, I distracted you, now I can leave. The biggest thing having to do with this is it cures concussion. As far as I know, it's the only thing that will cure a concussion. But it also deals a whole lot of damage to that water intake. So be very careful with this one. If you don't have anything to drink, you might want to forego this one. The concussion does have an effect. The concussion has this effect. You've suffered a concussion and all attributes are lowered by 1. Use painkillers to cure this. There's also another problem. It messes up your vision every now and then. I'll just wait a second. Alright, we'll just continue on and I'll wait for that effect to actually happen. The next thing we have is our sewing kit. It stops your bleeding and it also sutures a laceration, which is like a cut that will last for a very, very long time. Do I have something for that? Laceration. There we go. We've got a deep laceration and we are bleeding. I'm going to go ahead and use that. And that just got rid of it. Okay, that only got rid of the bleeding part of it, though. As you can see, we got a laceration that lasts for a very, very long time. A deep laceration can only be properly treated with a first aid kit or a sewing kit, but a simple bandage will stop the bleeding. Your max health is lowered by 25%. Critical hit resistance against bleeding, negative 15%. Now, there's also something else to notice. If you can look down the bottom left-hand corner where my health bar is, there is a cleared out section. Like, there's a light gray section where it looks like I can fill back up to that, but there's a section on the back end where I do not have the ability to fully heal my character. Use that, plus 30. There we go. It stops right there. Now, as you can see, if you're going through a large POI, and you get several different injuries, right now I have a concussion and a laceration only. That has knocked me down by half of my health. I cannot get that health back. That is one of the biggest, most dangerous things about these critical injuries that you have to take into account for, because it's not necessarily the injury itself. The injury is kind of a pain in the butt, but it will actually take down that, and in some cases cause other issues. Critical hit against bleeding is negative 15%, meaning I am more likely, 15% more likely to catch bleeding again. Meaning if I get into more fights, they're more likely to actually cut me again. And you saw how quickly my health went down after that. So that's the biggest issue with a lot of these problems, is they compound and they can make it to where your health doesn't even go all the way back up. So if we were to check another thing, I guess we'll just go ahead and go over the dysentery. I think we can use this without killing my character. I probably should set down a bedroll just in case for this one. The next thing we have is the dysentery. Now, I'm at 30%. It's on the bottom left-hand corner. Now, you can also get dysentery from eating certain types of food. And that will always have, like, the dysentery chance on there. If we were to look at, say, some dirty water, you can see the dysentery percent chance is 12%. If we were to try and eat raw meat, there's a 12% chance of dysentery. If you drink out of the water in world, it's also a 12%, I think. And this is basically what would happen is you've got dysentery. So, with dysentery, you feel sick to your stomach and have diarrhea. Golden tea may help. Diarrhea Diarrhea periodically reduces water 7.5% and food 2.5%. All water and food consumed beyond the regular cap is lost over time. So even if you eat over to try and compensate for that, you're still going to lose all of your food and water really, really fast. The good thing is this particular one does not require a whole lot, and we can just do... Oh, there it is. That is what happens whenever you have a concussion. There we go, there we go. Let's go ahead and get our cure concussion meds. And here's our goldenrod tea. Now, as you can see, it says cure dysentery 20%. Right now, I'm at 27% and going down. It will eventually go away on its own. It will take it a long time, and it will take a whole lot of food with it. If we go ahead and drink this, it will help me out to 20%, and then it will slow down again afterwards. The next thing is we have a buff fatigue after you get smacked by a zombie 1 or 2 times. We have these, which is just this tired figure, and if we go over here and check our fatigue, you are fatigued, take 10% more damage from all attacks, eat vitamins to cure this, your health may be lowered. Max health is lowered by 20%. And actually, the vitamin I don't even have inside these boxes. Let me go ahead and grab that, which is this disease resist 100%, cure fatigue 100%, and it lasts for 12 minutes. This is actually, assuming you found a whole lot of these, this is a good one to take at the beginning of your day. Take like 3 of them. It should last most of your day when you're playing, and it will stop you from getting an infection, period. So a lot of people save these for horde nights, and they'll just go ahead and take one before the horde so they won't get fatigued and they won't get an infection. But that went ahead and took care of that. The next thing we have is our laceration. We can stop our bleeding and suture that laceration with that. There we go. We have an infection. Now, infections are slightly different than your dysentery. Your dysentery will slowly go away on its own. The infection will get worse the longer you leave it on here. There are a few things that you can do. There are a few medications for it, and they are right here. We have got honey, which is not an instant cure. It slowly gets rid of it. The food is 8, health is 2. It does not have a stamina bonus, and it cures infection by 5%. And typically, you can break these guys with your stone axe. These guys right here. These stumps, and there's a chance to get a honey. Now there's also a book, I'll show it to you in just a minute, that will allow you to get it from regular trees every now and then, but let's go ahead and cover the other things that could possibly cure it. We have an herbal antibiotic, which does 10%, and you can craft an herbal antibiotic after you open the recipe, and it's actually kind of expensive because of blueberries and mushrooms. Now this top one right here on both of these is the recipe you would be using if you had the chemistry station. When you start out, you would have to make this on a cook stove with a beaker, and the recipe for that is this block right here, and as you can tell, it's a whole lot more expensive for both of these. Both of these are for infections as well, but the herbal antibiotic for some reason is way more expensive. And the antibiotic that does 25% cure infection. A sham sandwich, nitrate powder, and water is actually pretty easy to come by on the chemistry station. Now 4 sham sandwiches and the nitrate powder and the water might be a little bit more difficult for the cooktop, but both are kind of doable, more than this one, which is kind of weird. And by kind of weird, it's a lot weird. But if you were to do that, you just basically have to pay attention to your percentages and always use the one that's the most effective. Now, say your infection has gotten pretty bad. We are at 6%, and the only thing I have is a jar of honey. Well, I'm at 7%, and the only thing I have is a jar of honey. I can use this, and it will cure 5%. Now, what happens is it will drop the 5 off, which will leave 2.6%. That 2.6% is not healed, but it will stop going up in the time that you have this going on. Like, say I take the jar of honey and I go ahead and eat it. Antibiotic medicine 4.9%. It says you can stack antibiotic medicines to increase the duration. In order to beat this, it has to outmaneuver the actual infection. Like, the medicine has to last longer than the infection will, which means I could do 2 honeys, I could do 1 herbal antibiotic, I do 1 big antibiotic, but understand also that while it is going on, it is not currently ticking up because, like I said, infections tick up over time. And even worse, the more you get hit by a zombie, the higher it becomes. So even if you're like in your base doing nothing, it's still going to go up, just not up as fast as if you were sitting in a horde letting them beat on your face, because then the infection's going to go up faster. But while you have the antibiotic, whatever sort, inside your system, it's not ticking up anymore, which might actually give you the ability to find another antibiotic to take along with it. In some cases, it's been bad enough to where I'm having to take a honey just to try and keep the infection down while I search for something else. So just food for thought that sometimes you may or may not want to take it, even though it's not going to completely cure it. It will just slow it down for a while. I think that's pretty much on those. And then the next thing we've got to deal with is our breaks. Actually, let's do the sprain. There it is. We've got that. If you have got, this is a sprain on our arm. If you have got a sprain, which you can get from zombies hitting you or whatever, and there are ways of working on this, fixing this. If you've gotten a sprain or something like that, you can actually overwork yourself. As you can see, it kind of pulses on the bottom left-hand side. Whenever I swing with the... You can make a sprain or a break worse by using power attacks on your arms, or in the case of a sprained leg, if you are walking on it, it's just fine. If you're encumbered, it's fine. There are some mods that do like an encumbrance as if you're running, so be very careful if you're playing with mods. But for base game, if you run on a sprain, you could possibly make it worse. 10 minutes. Jumping, 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 11 minutes. Okay, but basically the more you use the thing that is sprained, the more likely it is to become more damaged, the longer it is to take to heal. There we go. Now, if we were to have a break, there we go. Now we've actually broken our leg. We are moving slower. And right now, if you'll see my bottom left-hand side, this is actually what killed a couple of people. I've seen it happen before. On the bottom left-hand side, watch the health bar. It's because I'm trying to jump while my leg is broken. I'm trying to run. I cannot run with this. It is making noise, but I can't run. It's actually making my injury hurt longer, but it is not going to hurt me specifically. But if I continue to jump, say if you're in a group of bad guys and you continue to jump, that can actually kill you. And then the arm... Same thing. So anyway, the sprains will cause you to... You can get a sprain that can last days if you're not careful. Well, let's go ahead and get this fixed. The way you get these fixed is through either a splint or a cast. A splint and a cast will really only work on a broken arm and leg every time. If you've taken the perk that I showed earlier, which is the... Physician perk number 1, where it says splints and casts cure sprains instantly. You can use a splint. It heals a broken leg but does not protect against further injury. And this one says he heals a broken arm or leg more quickly but does not protect against further injury. Sadly, there is neither one of these will stop you from injuring it. You still have to baby it. Obviously, you would probably want to use a cast if you had to, because it takes off a lot more time. There we go, they're both fixed and we have 25 minutes. And that's 40 minutes, so... Yeah, that's a huge, huge difference in time, and obviously you're going to have to baby that, and if I'm not mistaken, unless they've changed it recently, you can make your... Yeah, you can re-break your stuff, even if you fixed it with a cast or sprain or a cast or a splint or whatever. Zombies beating on you afterwards can re-infect, can re-break, can lacerate, can re-make you bleed again, the whole 9 yards. I think we've basically covered most of the medicines here. Let me make sure. Yeah, most of these guys are pretty easy to figure out. You can just like read through them and they will tell you what they do. They don't try to hide it from you, really. Something else to look at, in a lot of cases your food will have a health bonus, so you can get some of your healing back that way. If you don't have any health on you, check your food, see whether or not it's got any health. The drinks typically do not have any healing. Yeah, those are all stamina bonuses. As far as I know, there's not a drink that gives you any healing at all. Nope, and a couple of them actually take it away. So yeah, none of the drinks do. And then afterwards, we're just going to go over the books. We've got one for Lucky Looter number 7 that helps you to find more medical supplies. The medical journal, which improves your crafting skill on this. It opens up new recipes for you. The honey for the Wasteland Treasures Volume 1, it allows you to find honey from trees. So instead of just the stumps over there, you can actually cut down a tree and get a chance for a honey. And then we've got the robotic medical arm, which goes into your drone. And your drone at particular points will heal you. And as far as I know, they only use your health kits right here. They won't use anything else. Like, they won't cure your infection. They won't put a splint on you, that kind of thing. And then, of course, we've got our health bar, which gives you a plus 10% health bonus. Armor critical resist is 25%. Natural critical healing is 200%. Duration is 6 minutes. And food is 5. This is a pretty good one if you're fisting to go into a horde night, if you know that you're fisting to walk out of your horde and your horde base and go play with the horde. If you're going to drop into, say, I don't know, the boss room or something like that, these are pretty good ones to have. And of course, our medical training is listed right here, and you can go through and check to see which ones you need. The medical stuff, it's really not even a thing that you have to perk into. You will find these books either way. Same with food and seeds. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this episode. I know it was kind of rushed and there's a lot of information, but the medical stuff kind of tells you what it is that you need and what to use on it just by looking in the screen. Over here, it will tell you what it is that you need, how it's going to affect your health. Always keep an eye on your health after you start getting bigger injuries, because at some point it's going to make it to where even if you drop a healing, like even if you do the big first aid kit, it may not heal you enough to make it through a POI. So be very careful about all of the critical damage your character is going to be taking. And remember, the more damage your character takes, the more likely a critical hit will occur. And some of these medicines or some of these cures are not like insta-cures, like your antibiotic does not instantly cure you. The medical bandages and stuff like that, they heal over time. The only thing that gives you an immediate amount of healing is this, and for 40 water, so be very careful with that one as well. Plus there's some odds and ends, like the medical kits and stuff like that will cure your lacerations pretty quickly, but other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. The medical situation is not really that hard to figure out after you know where to look. So now that you know how to heal yourself, it's time to get out there and start playing with your zombies. I'll see you next time. You have a wonderful day. For night, and you stay shiny. Bye!